We're in the endgame now. God, I would be the only one here on YouTube to make a comparison between Harry Potter and the Avengers, huh? It all ends here, guys. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This is a movie that took the world by storm during the summer of 2011. I just got done with middle school. I was hyped and ready for this. My whole childhood at this point built up to this one movie. And this is perhaps my favorite entry in the franchise. Now, if you ask me on a given day, it's often a toss-up between this, Prisoner of Azkaban, and Order of the Phoenix. But spoiler alert, I absolutely adore Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Let's get right into it. But before I do, thank you all so much for stopping by the channel today. I really hope you enjoy your stay. If this is your first time visiting the channel, do consider smashing that subscribe button and that notification bell right next to it. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Hopefully we can reach that number very soon. So for those of you who are new to the channel, this review will basically follow the same formula that Deathly Hallows Part 1 followed. I uploaded that review last week just in case you guys missed it, but in that video, I basically just talked about what I enjoyed about it and what didn't necessarily work for me. And it is going to get really deep into spoiler territory, so you've been fairly warned. I doubt somebody hasn't seen these movies, but what the heck, I'll be nice. While Part 1 certainly had you feeling the levity and finality of this situation, Deathly Hallows Part 2 not only has those components, but the urgency is ever more prevalent. This is one of the shorter Harry Potter films, and that may have something to do with this movie's fast pace. But Deathly Hallows Part 2 is a non-stop ride from start to finish. And let me just warn you, if you've never seen this, if you're left behind after Harry talks to both Griphook and Ollivander, you're pretty much lost. But Griphook the stingy goblin agrees to break Harry and company into Bellatrix Lestrange's vault, playing off of the torturous information sequence that she got with Hermione. And Hermione does have to disguise herself as Bellatrix Lestrange, which is a really fun acting moment for Helena Bonham Carter to be incredibly nice. And they of course retrieve Helga Hufflepuff's trophy cup, which is another Horcrux they need to destroy. But Griphook the slimy bastard has to take the Gryffindor sword from them as payment. Jerk. But of course, the trio overcomes this stinginess and they escape Gringotts on the back of the Ukrainian Iron Belly. This gorgeous looking dragon creature. My word, them flying on the back of this dragon out of this bank over Diagon Alley, it's a majestic looking sequence that David Yates directed the hell out of. It honestly rivals the sequence where Harry flies on the back of Buckbeak in Prisoner of Azkaban. And that's the amazing thing about Deathly Hallows Part 2. The amount of callbacks you get throughout the entire series. It pays tribute to one of the greatest franchises ever put to the screen. While everything else explodes and comes to a halt in this movie. Everything is tied up so incredibly well. All those loose ends. There's not a single loose end left after this. So it's only fitting that it pays tribute to the things that made this series so famous along the way. Which brings me to the three friends eventually returning back to Hogwarts, which feels so incredibly nice to be back at that school. And to feel the people like Neville, Luna, Cho, Seamus, they're all coming together and seeing Harry as this defiant leader. That is their one moment of happiness in such a bleak year for them at Hogwarts so far. Severus Snape, played by the ever-so-stoic Alan Rickman, has taken over as headmaster of the school, and everything is so dark and hopeless at Hogwarts under his watch. Up until Harry himself, ever-so-defiant, confronts Severus Snape in the Great Hall, and the badass grandma that is Maggie Smith as Professor McGonagall banishes Snape out of the school and sends Slytherin off to the dungeon. Yes! Everything is so satisfying here. I've always wanted to use that spell. But then Voldemort and his forces start to infiltrate the castle, and this is where the movie gets even better. The big battle of Hogwarts begins. David Yates directed these sequences brilliantly. These battle sequences were everything I wanted and then some. Very reminiscent of Return of the King, reminiscent of what Game of Thrones would accomplish 5 years later with Battle of the Bastards. This magical war, the Battle of Hogwarts, is all really freaking exciting. Meanwhile, there's a couple of really exciting things happening on the interior of the castle. In a huge callback, Ron and Hermione go into the Chamber of Secrets to destroy a Horcrux with the Basilisk Fang, and Ron actually does speak Parseltongue to get in, claiming that Harry talks in his sleep. Why always the tone of surprise? Ron is a great character, so observant. How about Draco and his idiot friends burning down the Room of Requirement, which also destroys a Horcrux in the process? Fucking Ron in that moment is hilarious.
I'll set the bloody place on fire!
Yeah, save Hermione only and leave your bestie behind to fight the fiend fire. Some friend, huh? But of course, speaking of friendship, Harry, being the kind soul that he is, saves Draco's life out of the fiend fire itself, leads him and Blaise Zabini, I think his name is? The one that wasn't Goyle, who burned the room down. Him saving Draco Malfoy, despite everything they had been through throughout the entire series. Letting bygones be bygones, that sets a great example for kids. Ron, on the other hand, you know, he's a little bit more tentative. If we die for them, Harry, I'm gonna kill you! Speaking of kill... God, I didn't want to talk about this, but we have to. Let's talk about the big reveal of this entire series that makes everything make sense. After Snape's heartbreaking tearjerker of a death scene at the hands of Voldemort himself, it's revealed that Snape loved Lily Potter and that he was acting as a double agent and a mole within Voldemort's army. Snape was working for Dumbledore and protecting Harry the whole time. And that leads to the one quote that has inspired so many romantic gifts and tattoos amongst all of my friends and Harry Potter fans alike. After all this time, always. That whole flashback sequence is absolutely brilliant. Snape loving Lily Potter, acting as that double agent. Just pieces everything together so wonderfully. And it makes me love Snape as a character even more than I already did. But these memories reveal that Harry Potter is a Horcrux himself, and that Voldemort must cast the killing curse on Harry to ultimately destroy Voldemort in the long haul. And Harry reuniting with his deceased parents, Sirius and Lupin, who was killed in the battle along the way, they arrive to comfort him by way of the Resurrection Stone on the way to the gallows, theoretically. And in the Forbidden Forest, Voldemort kills Harry Potter. Sort of. No, Harry doesn't go to heaven. He ends up in limbo with the always quirky Michael Gambon as Albus Dumbledore, who is oh so mysterious here. So Harry decides to resurrect himself, getting on as Dumbledore called it. But this in turn gives us one of the best sequences in cinema history involving Ralph Fiennes himself. He basically leads his army to the main courtyard of Hogwarts, and Hagrid is carrying a supposed dead Harry Potter. Voldemort is giving his victory speech ahead of time, and he's telling everybody, all the good guys, join his forces or die. And this whole sequence here in the courtyard, it is home to one of the best moments in all of cinema history. Like, this is something that scholars will write dissertations about. This moment right here, between Lord Voldemort and Draco Malfoy, will stand the test of time.
Well done, Draco. Well done.
A sharp eye will notice that Dean Thomas really wants to laugh right here, and I bust up every single time. I can't help it. It is so unintentionally hilarious and uncomfortable at the same time. Or maybe that was the intention. I'm actually kind of curious to feel what a Voldemort hug actually feels like. I'm weird, but Harry springs back to life after Matthew Lewis as Neville gives this awe-inspiring speech saying that Voldemort will die in vain, which is exactly what he does. Harry literally blows him up to smithereens after a final showdown for the ages. And it's all revealed that Harry became the Elder Wand's master the entire time after he disarmed Draco at Malfoy Manor towards the end of Deathly Hallows Part 1. Now, some may complain that that's a bit of a plot hole because, if you recall, Draco Malfoy did not touch the Elder Wand one time throughout this entire series. But I'm not gonna let that hinder my enjoyment of such an epic finale, which includes Bellatrix Lestrange getting blown up by none other than Molly Weasley herself in protection of Ginny. Not my daughter, you bitch! I think you guys get the picture. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is a damn near perfect finale, rivaling Return of the King. It leaves absolutely no loose ends. The final showdown between Harry and Voldemort is just as satisfying as you would have expected it, and this is a true testament to a cinematic dream come true that has been this series up to this point. I'm gonna give Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 an A+. Well guys, that's it. Every single main Harry Potter film has gotten the review treatment on my channel, And let me tell you, it has been so much fun looking back at my favorite film franchise of all time, but we're not done yet. With Secrets of Dumbledore hitting theaters this April, we have not one but two Fantastic Beasts films to look at, the first of which came out in 2016 after a 5-year hiatus from director David Yates. And here he transports us 70 years before the Battle of Hogwarts ever took place to the United States of America in this wizarding world. So lots of exciting things that you guys can look forward to. In addition to my two Fantastic Beasts movies reviews, I'm going to be looking at the Batman next weekend. There's a Pixar movie coming out in the month of March. A lot of exciting things to catch up on, guys. So consider smashing that subscribe button and that notification bell right next to it if you haven't done so already. And go ahead and hit that like button on your way out. This is also some incredible help in getting this content out there. Thank you all for continuing to support this channel up to this point. Thank you all so much for taking this journey through the wizarding world along with me. With all that being said, back talk, commence.